Now that has all been discussed, it is important to look at the sexualization of beauty. I would like to start by sharing the definition of sexualization shared by the Human Sexuality Textbook, 3rd edition. The definition is as follows. Sexualization occurs when people are made to feel as though their value or worth is inextricably linked to their sexual appeal, when they equate their physical attractiveness to being sexy, when they are sexually objectified, and when sexuality is inappropriately imposed on them. As we have made our way through time, the idea of what beauty is has been sexualized. Building off of what Cassidy and Graydon have spoken about regarding the changes of arts and different use of media through social media has enabled researchers to notice and gather evidence that these changes in society have caused high sexualization of women. In parallel to this, social groups and authority have a great impact on women receiving these messages that there is an importance of physical attractiveness and that this should be valued. Therefore, people who are more exposed to these messages are more likely to hold values for appearance, though it is worth mentioning that many are resilient and reject conforming to these values. When looking at how people begin to self-sexualize, there are 4 main concepts: objectification, self-objectification, sexualization, and sexual objectification, of which sexualization is a key factor. With this information provided, it can be seen how sexualization affects people's views on beauty, though there is still more to share. For both men and women, as well as varying in degree to the experience of self-sexualization, there is an increasing societal value to improve attractiveness. This trend can be seen increasing in several countries and occurring in most, but right now, it's especially seen in Western cultures. With this trend, young women are expressing themselves and their sexualities in a multitude of ways. One reason for this, as seen through previous discussions in this presentation, is the fact the porn industry has found its way into mainstream culture, initially teaching people through constant exposure, such as seeing celebrities replicating pornographic sexuality, to sexualize and equate one's physical attractiveness to sexiness, leading to the general public to partake in hypersexualized cultural trends through means of performative acts of hypersexiness. Internalizing sexualized messages is in line with cognitive constructivist accounts of gender role development. Children will construct cognitive representations of gender roles by observing the characteristics and behaviors that are considered accepted by observations of social group responses, then take these schemas to guide their self-views, which in the end affect their behaviors. People with high levels of self-sexualization believe their core role is to be sexually alluring, and due to the effects of this, especially on young women, it is something that must be combated. But how? Sexualization of beauty and self-sexualization can either be continued and allowed to grow or combated and stopped. When looking at the potential to internalize the belief that sexual attractiveness is important, one should know there are two cultural trends to be aware of and identify: a retrogressive trend and a progressive trend, which, depending on which one an individual embodies, depends on whether they will be part of supporting or combating the sexualization of beauty. With the retrogressive trend, individuals take part in the sexualization of girls and women, potentially even males, and are exposed to messages that sexualize and objectify people and send messages that lead to the belief that being sexually appealing is a core component to an individual's gender role. This trend supports the sexualization of beauty. In contrast to this, there is the progressive trend. With this trend, it is seen that individuals recognize and combat sexual misconduct, harassment, and abuse while using movements such as the #MeToo movement to fight against the retrogressive trend. The more we do things such as this, the more awareness there will be, allowing the public to make educated decisions about what information they are listening to and what actions they are making or beliefs they're holding that align more with the retrogressive trend, in order for these individuals to consciously work towards a disposition that aligns instead with the progressive trend. The more people take part in this, and the more people are made aware and become vulnerable enough to make the changes that are needed, it is possible to see a world where beauty is less sexualized.